John T. Edge wrote in the Potlicker Papers, quote, "To apprehend how Southerners have fed themselves and others gains us a necessary glimpse of remarkable lives, a kitchen-eye view of the revolutions and evolutions that have shaped the region. Those stories reveal a people's history embedded in the crops we grow, the dishes we cook, and the tables where we gather." End quote. Red peas, okra, corn, rice, and cassava, the simple ingredients that single-handedly influence Southern food. Fried chicken, gumbo, shrimp and grits, cornbread, the delicious meals classified as Southern food. Posho, beef and rice, beans and rice, and passion fruit juice, the staple foods in Uganda. The recipes that have been handed down from grandmother to mother to you may not be as original as we think. When I say we, I mean people in the United States of America. We sailed across the sea. We uprooted Africans from their homes, their culture, and their life, dragged from their tribes and forced onto a boat, and then sailed across the sea to the good old United States of America just so that we could use them as our slaves. John T. Edge wrote in the Potlicker Papers, quote, "Southern history encompasses migration from Africa to the Americas, from farms to factories, from the rural South to the urban North and back again. On this land we have waged wars and lost and won battles. Southerners have endured horrors and celebrated beauty." End quote. We forced human beings from Africa to come to the U.S. We forced Africans to be our slaves. We forced our superiority on Africans. We have done an injustice to the African Americans by burying the history of what really happened when we forced them to be our slaves. We have taken it upon ourselves to bring meals to the table and say we got the recipe from our great-grandmother's dad's son's best friend, when in reality most of our recipes, most of our staple foods in the South come from the Africans we forced to be our slaves. Somewhere along the way, we have claimed to be the best cooks, to make the best meals, to be the best country, but our history has misinformed us. People from Africa had their diets revolve around a starch base with lots of vegetables and little protein as well. Without learning about the African diet, the white man, we, would be lacking in many nutrients. Here we are now, hundreds of years later, trying out diets like being vegan, vegetarian, organic, gluten-free, when people in Africa are already doing it. Before the list of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, were released, the world was still fixated on the Millennium Development Goals, the MDGs. One difference between the MDGs and the SDGs are that eliminating poverty and world hunger are no longer lumped together as one problem. Now, as SDGs are being implemented, poverty and eliminating world hunger are separate. As a first world country, it is so easy to lump poverty and hunger together. However, we need to separate the two to be able to recognize each problem and the solutions that come with it. Food insecurity is happening in the high country, in our own backyard. The food that is the best for us, for our health, is the food that is overly priced and organic. It's the food that local farmers are selling at high prices at the farmers market and at Earth Fair and in some sections of Publix and Harris Teeter. The food that is not best for us to consume is found at Food Lion and Walmart. As of January 1st, 2016, the work on the SDGs to create solutions began. There are more SDGs that play into the problem addressed in this video, reinforming the misinformed eaters of the South and providing insight on how to eliminate food insecurity and food hunger in both the third world countries such as Uganda and first world communities that struggle with food insecurities such as Boone. Another SDG that provides insight to the solution of this problem is reduced inequalities. Racism bleeds into our society, and most of the time it goes unnoticed. Racism is not just the remarks that lead to unnecessary bullets, but also the environments the entire ethnic groups are living in, and how good, locally sourced organic food is accessible to these cultures. The solution to our problem is to dig deep within ourselves, to recognize the parts of our hearts that have prejudices, and to fight, to shed light on these injustices your neighbor and mine are struggling with. Working towards ending hunger all over the world is important. Providing some type of food for all people is a start, but then being able to provide good, quality food that has a history worth mentioning is a step beyond that. The same struggle in Boone with food insecurity is the same struggle in the community I was in while I was in Uganda. While food is scarce in Uganda, it is pure, it is whole, it is not processed, it is 100% organic. The solution is for greedy farmers in the U.S. to lower the prices on their unprocessed meats, unsprayed produce, and sell organic food at a price that everyone can afford. While I cannot fix this on my own, I think that the more we try to source our food locally without much added preservatives, we should be eating healthier food. People in Africa, roughly 8,000 miles away from you and me, are struggling with food in different ways, but in the same way as well. Ancestors from my friends in Africa have come to the United States long ago and were forced into slavery. These friends, who had ancestors ride ships and endure harsh living conditions, paved the way for Southern cuisine to taste the way it does. Maybe the people we have forced our superiority upon have more to offer us than we thought. Humility is the answer. Let's bury our pride, understand what truly happened in U.S. history, and learn from each other ways that we can prepare and eat food that not only brings us together, but also nourishes our body and soul.